Kalau kita melihat bahwa Indonesia itu adalah negara besar yang kaya raya, tetapi tidak seharusnya menjadi seperti itu. Apakah ini karena faktor pendidikan? Kemudian apakah dengan model pendidikan abad 21 ini kita akan bisa mentransfer kultur, mentransfer kepribadian yang akan membentuk manusia Indonesia seutuhnya, sehingga mengembalikan Indonesia itu seperti zaman dulu, zaman Sriwijaya yang menjadi negara superpower ya, atau zaman Majapahit menjadi negara superpower sampai wilayahnya sampai ke negara-negara lain. Jadi intinya apakah dengan model pendidikan abad 21 ini akan mampu mengubah Indonesia menjadi Indonesia Raya? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Sudah ya, langsung ya. Baik, ada dua pertanyaan penting ya. Jadi siapa stakeholder kita di dalam nanti menerapkan atau mengimplementasikan atau mengantisipasi terhadap perubahan teknologi ini melalui revolusi industri keempat. Bagaimana peran perguruan tinggi? Bukankah guru-guru kita itu diproses oleh LPTK, oleh perguruan tinggi? Semua. Jadi kita harus aware. Memang kita di Indonesia ini fase awareness ya. Kita mengajak fase awareness. Tapi di negara lain sudah sudah jalan, ya, sudah melihat, sudah dipraktekkan, gitu ya. Bagaimana indikatornya? Pasti beragam, ya. Sekarang katakanlah Bapak Ibu, ini kan dengan penerapan 4C, ya, kita sudah menerapkan pembelajaran terintegratif berbasis STEM, Science, Teknologi, Engineering, Matematik. Ada juga STEAM plus C, ada juga Art-nya. Bahkan nanti itu kan sebagai stimulan umum. Bahkan tergantung karakteristik produk yang kita buat, ini mengharuskan integrasi disiplin ilmu dari masing-masing itu. Saya melihat ada mahasiswa, ini di Singapura juga, di Jerman yang saya tahu, mungkin di Amerika, di Australia juga. Final project di perguruan tinggi, itu adalah siapa yang mengerjakan proyek. Ada jurusan manajemen, ada yang SDM, ada yang engineering, ya kan, ada yang ekonomi. Dia punya peranan yang beda-beda. Itulah praktikal daripada integrasi disiplin untuk menghasilkan produk sesuatu. Ya, itu sebagai indikatornya. Apakah semuanya? Nah ini sangat apakah semuanya? Nanti kita juga perlu melihat disparitas di Indonesia ini. Pasti kita juga yang padat karya masih diperlukan. Jadi kan ini revolusi industri keempat itu kan sebagai benchmarking sebenarnya kan, sebagai benchmarking global. Kalau kita tidak mengikuti, kita akan ketinggalan, gitu ya. Saya secara pribadi berpandangan simpul strategis ekonomi. Sekarang ada kawasan ekonomi khusus ya, itu perlu dikembangkan ya. Industri strategis itu dikembangkan seperti Jakarta, Surabaya, Bandung, Semarang, Jogja. Harus ada modeling itu. Makanya learning 4.0 untuk ini sangat penting, ya kan itu ya. Ini jadi kita juga memperhatikan tidak gebiah-huyah semuanya nanti revolusi industri 4. Ini karena sebagai benchmarking, gitu ya. Pertanyaan kedua adalah ini gimana nih pembangunan manusia Indonesia seutuhnya, lahir batin. Walaupun kita ingat tadi saya katakan ada 3-in-1 kebijakan. Satu, melalui revolusi mental kita namanya penguatan PPK, penguatan pendidikan karakter. Dulu namanya PKP waktu menteri kita Pak Nuh ya, pendidikan karakter bangsa. Sekarang nilai-nilai PPK sudah diinternalisasi kepada peserta didik semua jenjang di perguruan tinggi juga. Kemudian 4C-nya di kompetensi ini juga nawacita Presiden juga untuk meningkatkan produktivitas dan daya saing masyarakat, merubah struktur SDM di tingkat menengah yang tadinya unskills menjadi skills. Itu makanya sekarang nanti kebijakan untuk keterampilan menjadi sangat dominan ke depan. Ya. Yang ketiga adalah literasi. Sekarang ada gerakan literasi nasional. Ada Bapak Ibu yang namanya sagu-sabu. Satu buku, satu guru. Ya. Literasi yang paling basic adalah literasi kebahasaan. Kenapa bahasa? Bahasa adalah jembatan ilmu. Jadi kita, bahasa yang paling penting apa? Bahasa Indonesia. Kita sebagai orang Indonesia, tapi kita juga memaintain bahasa daerah. Ini ada bahasa Sunda, tapi abdi caranya Sunda, nggak bisa. Ya. Bahasa Jawa saya bisa. Ada yang bahasa Madura, bahasa Batak, itu menjadi budaya kita. Ya. Jadi apa namanya? Nah, tadi dikatakan juga bahwa internet ini ada bahayanya juga. Ada situs yang negatif, itulah peranan kita bagi Bapak Ibu guru, tapi untuk membangun manusia Indonesia seutuhnya itu lahir dan batin, terampil, cerdas, tapi punya etika. Ya, dia punya sopan santun, dia agamanya baik juga. Ini mari kita sebagai guru punya ambil peran bagaimana memberikan arahan, batasan bagi para peserta didik kita supaya memanfaatkan hal-hal yang sifatnya positif. Dari sisi pemerintah, ini yang mengatur lalu lintas komunikasi yang bahaya bagi negara ini Menko Info. Misalkan ini situs-situs yang triple X tutup, nggak boleh. Ini kewajiban pusat, gitu ya. Jadi dari sisi kebijakan di tingkat pusat, dari sisi implementasi, ayo kita semuanya Bapak Ibu guru sebagai kita bertanggung jawab untuk memajukan pendidikan di Indonesia lebih baik lagi. Gitu ya Bapak Ibu, saya pikir itu yang dapat saya sampaikan. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih Pak Sumarno. Tepuk tangan untuk Pak Sumarno. Ya. Bapak Ibu, kita sampai pada akhir sesi dan kesimpulannya, the conclusion is in 21st century there is a big change in human life. There is an integration in mechanical and ICT in Industry 4.0 that lead us to a digital life. And then maybe on future learning will be visual, social, mobile, and personal. And it's a big challenge for all of us as a teacher. How to prepare our students to face 21st century challenge. And the solution is we have to prepare our students with ICT literacy, knowledge enhancement, and pedagogical method. That's the conclusion. Thank you. Terima kasih Pak Sumarno atas presentasi yang sangat menarik. Ibu Bapak, ini adalah akhir dari presentasi pertama untuk sesi ini. Sekali lagi terima kasih banyak atas presentasi yang menarik dari Bapak Sumarno dan juga partisipasi yang sangat aktif dari Ibu Bapak sekalian. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
One, two. It works. Technology works. Okay, I will talk slowly and hopefully then 99% of people will understand what I'm saying. If you cannot understand what I'm saying, put your hand up now. We're doing well, because I've got a backup. Ibu Atik is going to do some translation, but I'm not sure that we have to do word-for-word translation, given that we've got short time. Just so
We have 30 minutes including discussion, sir.
just if we get stuck, okay? So you can understand me if I talk slowly? Ooh. Okay.
But excuse,
Oh, I've got to get introduced. I'm a naughty boy.
Itulah Pak Greg-nya, lucu. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, honorable keynote speaker, and honorable participant of international conference. In this session, I am Lia Jalia. I am instructionalist of PPPP, Bahasa Indonesia. I will be moderator of Professor Greg Shaw from Charles Darwin University, Australia. He will present the theme of connection between pedagogy and digital technology in education. This session will be divided into two, presentation and question and answer. Here is Professor Greg Shaw, CV a little bit back. He was a background from agriculture teacher, is right? Agriculture teacher. Okay. He also taught in Papua New Guinea, teacher, and now he is Dean of Faculty of Education at CDU. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the presentation from Professor Greg Shaw. Pak Greg, time is yours.
Thank you. Actually, Ibu, you gave half my presentation just now. Because I'm going to talk about things to do with education from my perspective.
sorry, do I have to translate?
We are going to translate or we are not?
You take,
So I don't think we need, but I'm being told we do need. Yes or no? No, I don't think we need. If I speak too fast, then someone throw a rock at me. Okay? So I want to talk about education from some perspectives, but it will be particularly drawing upon my own history. You see, I'm an old man. Some people call me grandpa because I am grandpa. But being old also means you can draw upon a whole lot of experiences and in particular change. So my talk will reflect that. Are you with me? Okay? Okay. So this is what I want to try to attempt to cover today. I do want to say something about my story as a teacher. I'm going to talk a little bit about my university, Charles Darwin University. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we mean by teaching and learning or education. What is it? What are the relationships? And I'm going to make some observations about education in Indonesia. I'm going to talk a little bit about digital technologies in education. I'm going to mention MOOCs, M-O-O-C. I'll tell you what that is later. Particularly what we can learn from them. And I want to introduce a theme about transformation in education. You understand? You're too afraid to say anything else. Let's go. Me, my story. Now, this is important because it actually tells a few lessons, not just for me, but I hope for you. So let me go through my story quickly. I chose to be a teacher, which in my time, and even maybe today, is unusual for boys to choose to be a teacher. It's still an industry dominated, particularly in elementary school, by women. Okay? that I chose. I wanted to be a teacher. I did a course, as Ibu told you, to be trained to become a teacher of agriculture in high schools, to teach from grade 7 to grade 12, and biology from grade 7 to grade 12, and general science from grade 7 to grade 10. That was my training. That was my career. I was a teacher in a high school, and I taught at first in Papua New Guinea. It's the country next to Papua province. I taught in high schools for 4 years. It's very interesting and very different. And then I left that school and I joined a small teachers' college, an SPG. You know what that is? SPG. SPG? I have no idea what it means.
Sekolah Pendidikan Guru.
Okay? I trained to be a teacher. I taught in this teachers' college for 10 years. And I taught in that college agriculture, appropriate technology, educational technology. So I've already changed my career. Started as an agriculture teacher and science. Now I'm teaching appropriate technology and educational technology. Now, at that time, I bought my first computer. My first computer, it was about 1982. Very proud of my first computer. It had 32K. Not 32 meg or 32 gig, 32K. Now my watch has probably 100 times that amount of power now. But on that computer, I could do everything. Word processing, spreadsheets. I did my master's thesis on it eventually. 32K. So some things have changed. I did an upgrade from my 3-year diploma to a 4-year degree, a Bachelor of Education. I did that face-to-face at a university part-time while I was working. And I did a Master of Education at a distance. You talked about distance education. I did it, a master's degree, using bits of paper, backwards and forwards. This is before the internet. Are people still understanding me? Am I talking too fast? Maybe. There's a bit of silence there. Okay. Then, after 15 years working in Papua New Guinea, I moved to Australia, to Darwin. Now, where is Darwin? Because, I don't have a pointer, because people have heard about Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane and Perth, but Darwin is right up the top. Is right up the top. And I moved to a university there, Charles Darwin University. I like to say it's the top university in Australia. That's where I moved. And you can see it's close to Indonesia. It's close to Bali, 2 hours by plane. And yeah, that's where I moved. Okay, let's move on. Now there, at first, I was employed now, on the basis of my master's degree, as a lecturer in adult education. Agriculture, now adult education, completely different. And I also worked in educational technology, particularly they're moving into digital technologies in education. I worked in distance education, and I did my PhD part-time while I worked at a distance. My university that I did the PhD in was, it's gone, was in Melbourne at the bottom of Australia, and I was at the top. So we used the internet, email, phone, and occasionally I visited my supervisor. I did my PhD at a distance. All right, so, and now, as Ibulia said, I'm now the Dean and Professor of Education. I started as an agriculture teacher, teaching science and agriculture. And my career moved across different countries. And I accumulated different qualifications. And I changed jobs. And so now, my job has no bearing or no connection with what I started as. Now, I say this as an encouragement to you. You are all teachers, and I'm sure already many of you have moved in your career and started to do different things. And so if you think you're stuck in your career, you don't have to be. You can move to different things. That's the first thing I wanted to come out of that story. The second thing was, in that story, I myself did professional development, learning as a teacher. I did 3 formal awards, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a PhD, over many, many years, part-time. And that helped my career, but it also helped me in my learning, in my understanding. Okay, now, what about this top university? Charles Darwin University. Well, it started as a small regional institution. It was just for the small town. Just for the town. What happened? Couldn't understand me? Can't understand me? It's okay? Small university, just for the town, Darwin. And then we got into distance education. At first, bits of paper. And I was working in the department, distance education. And then we became, over many years, a national provider. But we have a reputation where I think we are ranked as 301 in the world, of all universities in the world. 34 in the world in universities under 50, supposed to be 38 in Asia Pacific, 25 out of 48 in Australia, and we moved from being a regional university to a national university. But the statistic that's really important, I think, for you to think about is that 80% of the students at my university do their study online. 80%. So I have students that I teach classes for that I never see. And they're doing teaching, training courses. And we have people doing nursing degree to become a nurse at my university who never come to the university. We never see. And yet they are successful at becoming teachers and nurses. I've said this many times. In Indonesia, on many occasions, many people in this room have heard me say this. But I think we still haven't fully accepted this. The Pustakom has done a great deal of work in this area, and it's really pleasing part to see that work continuing around the concept of distance education. It can work. It does work. Now, what is teaching and learning? What is education? Well, let's just think about what's happening when we talk about teaching. What is the role of I want to talk about the role of the teacher, the role of the student, and the impact on theory, practice, and culture. Okay? 3 things. Teacher, student, impact of theory, practice, and culture. The teacher. We all know what a teacher does. In fact, I think probably everyone in this room is a teacher, because we have elementary school teachers. Hands up. Hands up. Elementary school teachers.
Guru SD tolong angkat tangan.
Hands up. Leave your hand up.
Lebih tinggi lagi.
High school teacher. High school teachers.
SMA. Angkat tangannya, nggak usah malu-malu. Iya.
Yeah. Leave your hands up. Come on, exercise. Okay. Vidyaswara. Vidyaswara. Hands up. Vidyaswara. Vidyaswara. Well, come on, we've got more than that. Okay, good. Any parents here? Parents. Papa, mama.
Para orang tua.
Papa, mama.
Semuanya.
Now, is there anyone that did not put their hand up?
Ada yang tidak angkat tangan? Berarti ngantuk.
Okay, so you are all teachers. You are all teachers. The word teacher means to help people to learn. So a teacher creates a learning environment, sets a space or a place or a thinking for learning, an environment for learning. But you know, one thing that the teacher doesn't do is the learning. All the teacher can do is help a student or a child to learn. They can't do the learning. The individual child has to do that. So the key for successful education in terms of outcomes is actually the learner. It's the learner. What do? What do students do? Well, they should follow instructions, seek advice, ask questions, and particularly be active. If learning is going to be successful, the learner has to be active, doing something about the learning. We saw some examples this morning. The science experiments, activity-based learning. And it's very easy to do that in science. But it's very important for students to be active in their learning. Okay. Now, what is the role or the place of theory? And what is our practice? And what is our learning cultures? Oops. Okay. So we have a number of theories in education. Now, because you are all teachers, including the parents, I think you will know these words, and I'm not going to explain them. But we have behavioralism. Behavioralism. Pavlov's dog. Behavioralism. Often used in vocational education, but not just in vocational education. Cognitism. Mental processes and information processing. Constructivism. Learner-constructed understanding. Humanism, where there's a focus on the individual. Now I'll just pause there. All of those words I think you know in terms of learning theory, if you've done some training and thinking in education. And all of those theories have a place. They all have a place. I think for some cases, some of these theories or ideas are better than others. And I think constructivism has a particular strength about it because the focus is on the learner learning. They have to construct understanding. The last term, though, connectivism, is an interesting one. It relates to the way we are now connected, the way people are connected in society. It's quite a modern term because it particularly comes out of the use of digital technologies and social media. Just think about that. We'll pick that up a little bit later. What about our practices as teachers and schools and institutions? Our practices, what we do. Sometimes you might hear the word traditional. Traditional.
It's also traditional in Bahasa.
Okay. You know what I mean by traditional teaching, or traditional school, or traditional instruction. Now think about what it means to you, traditional, in terms of approaches. But I think very often the concept traditional means a dominance of content. Letting the content or the curriculum dominate the education process. They're very often teacher-centered traditional approaches. You all know what teacher-centered means and what the opposite is. And they're very often exam-driven. And I want you to think about those concepts in respect to your own classroom and Indonesia more broadly. And what about our teaching in respect to cultures, our teaching and learning cultures? One of the things that we tend to do as teachers is to teach how we ourselves learned as a student. We teach very often as we learn, or as we have learned. So if we want to try to change the teaching by introducing new technologies or new pedagogies or new systems, it's very hard to do that often because teachers very often are stuck in their culture of teaching. It's hard for teachers to change their practices. Changing culture is difficult. But there is a transformation of our teaching and our curriculum taking place. Now you think about Indonesia, what's happened over the last 10 years in Indonesia in terms of education. You think about the new curriculum, 2013 curriculum. That was a big change, wasn't it? To education content, the content. You think about some of the new ideas that have come into science education, problem-based learning, problem solving and teamwork, and a whole range of new approaches to science education. There are some really good policies in Indonesia driving some transformations in our curriculum and in our teaching. There's good policy, there's good government direction, there's encouragement and incentives, like, for example, sending 1,000 teachers all over the world to experience some training in order to see some new practices. But there's some good things there that are happening. But the problem is we are slow in changing our culture. We need to speed that up. We need a transformation. So Indonesia, we had some interesting numbers before about GDP in Indonesia. I love it because it's going to be number 4 in GDP PPP. Okay, number 4. I couldn't see Australia on the list. It's down there somewhere maybe. It's very encouraging to see. Indonesia though has big numbers, big population, lots of children in school, 3 million teachers. It's big. And it's hard to work sometimes with big numbers. My observation of education in Indonesia is that it's very structured. Still, structured curriculum, structured processes. It's content-based. Still heavy on the curriculum content. And it's still very much driven by the national examination. This is the thing that we need to change in terms of a transformation of education, in my view. We've got some problems too, some issues in Indonesia. The standard as measured against international benchmarks is not as high as it should be. We need to get it there. So digital technologies can provide some solutions. They've become part of our lives, digital technologies. We all have a mobile phone, we all have a smartphone. Everyone uses WhatsApp and other devices to get information, to access information, and to provide information. And increasingly, digital technologies are becoming part of our classrooms. Think about when you visited the schools in the different countries that you went to, in Australia and Japan and all the other countries that you went to, and you saw some practices in classrooms. Think about how many of those classrooms were using digital technologies in the teaching and learning process. We can learn some lessons from MOOCs. Now, what are MOOCs? They're massive, open, online courses. They were introduced by universities as generally a way to get people involved in the university. Massive means they're big, or for big numbers of learners. Open means anyone can do the course. Online means that they're using digital technologies and the internet. Courses means that they facilitate learning, often under a formal program. And at Charles Darwin University, we have 3 MOOCs. We have one, and there's the address there if you want to have a look. We have one on Charles Darwin, the scientist. We have one on memory or psychology and thinking and remembering. And we have one on accounting. Who's counting? It's about accounting, business accounting. Now we can learn some lessons from MOOCs and how we use them. One is that they're set up to be efficient for large numbers. We have large numbers of learners in Indonesia, large numbers of teachers for professional development. So there's some lessons we can learn from MOOCs about how they do that. They're very often learner-centered and they're learner-active in their pedagogy, using constructivism and connectivism. They use now, increasingly, machine language approaches to providing feedback and assessment. Increasingly, aspects of artificial intelligence are being used in these programs. Sometimes the concept of artificial intelligence scares teachers, and I don't want it to, because teachers are always going to have a job to do, in my view. And they use a constructive alignment approach in terms of their design. They start with learning outcomes, they connect the learning outcomes to the assessment, or how to assess learning, and then they develop activities attached to content. They line up the learning approach from a learning design point of view. Okay, last slide. I talked about a transformation in education. We are now undergoing a transformation in education in the world, internationally. It's happening. When you visited schools, those people that went to visit schools, you saw some of that, I'm sure. And we will hear a bit of that through the presentations you do over the next few days. Education is changing in a whole range of ways. And this transformation is reflected in increased use in technologies, digital technologies, a real focus on the learner, on the student as opposed to the teacher. There's an increased use of application pedagogy. This is approaches to engage the learner in learning so that they're active in the learning. And I hope increasingly there will be a focus on skills, helping people to learn how to learn. When I went through school, the idea was that you could educate someone like me with all the skills and knowledge they need to be successful in life. That's not the case now. We need to help people to be continuing in their learning throughout their lives. And there's an emergence on 21st century skills. Collaboration and teamwork, creativity, imagination and problem solving, critical thinking and cross-cultural competencies. This transformation needs to happen in Indonesia. And you are the people that can lead this. You need to be prepared yourselves to change your own practices, to change your thinking, to change your own teaching and learning cultures, and to transform yourself and your teaching, and then that will provide leadership to others. Unless we can do this in Indonesia, or complete the process in Indonesia, because it's already starting, then we're going to continue to have problems with our education standards. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of the examples that people have learnt about in your visit. So that's my... Terima kasih. Yeah.
Thank you, Patrick, for very interesting presentation. Bapak Ibu, waktunya untuk pertanyaan, sesi pertanyaan dibatasi hanya 2 pertanyaan. 2 pertanyaan sudah ya. Ibu Danti sama Bapak 2 saja karena waktunya tidak cukup.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Mr. Greg, maybe this is a little bit technical, but I'm really curious about how to assess your long distance students. Yeah, the assessment, how you validate, because, I'm so surprised that you can do for the nursing, even nursing in long distance education. Thank you.
At a distance, when we never see them and they're doing courses like nursing, because that's really serious, because people can die if they're not properly trained, okay? The answer is we cheat. The university cheats, because what I didn't tell you is that we use hospitals as learning centres and assessment centres. We teach and we set up the assessment, but then our students will go to the hospital or to a school and their performance is assessed by other nurses or other teachers. And we have standards of assessment, we have ways to check the quality, and we are very confident that the assessment is of a high standard. In fact, in Australia we have universities that are doing face-to-face teacher education, and we have universities like myself which are doing online. And there's been studies to prove that there's no difference in the quality, no difference in the standard of those students. So we cheat.
Bahasa Inggris, bahasa Inggris.
Thank you, Professor. You are my inspiration. I saw your story from the agriculture, a teacher, and to be a professor in the top university in Darwin. I want to ask you, in Indonesia curriculum, more duty teacher in the class. I want to ask you, how, based on your experience as a teacher, how to resolve time schedule in the class via teaching in the class? How to resolve limited time in the schedule?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's question has been a question for 100 years. It's not new. You see, we never think we have enough time to teach everything we have to teach. The problem is not the time. The problem is everything we have to teach, because we don't have to teach everything. What we have to do is cut the curriculum of the stuff that's not essential. Our curriculums are too full. There's too much stuff there. You know as teachers that if students can learn the fundamental thinking processes and fundamental rules, then if they have skills to build on that, they can be successful learning ongoing. We don't have to teach everything. I'll give you one example quickly. I had a professor of chemistry 10 years ago who asked me the same question, and I told him the same answer, and he was not happy, because as a chemist, all of this stuff is important. They have to know this, and every year information grows. And I said, no, cut. And in frustration he did. He cut to the bare bones of chemistry, but taught the students then how to find information, how to solve problems and make connections, and how to come up with new information themselves. And the result was a much higher quality graduate, because they were not just themselves encyclopedias of knowledge, they were people who could process information themselves and learn as they needed to learn. So the answer is cut, get rid of it. It's hard for a high school teacher to do that, because you have the national curriculum, you have the national exam. It's very hard to cut. You have no control over it. So we have to fix that at the national level. Okay? All right? I think we've run out of time. Happy to talk with people over the next 3 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Gek. Thank you, Ibu Lia. And for the next session, I would like to invite Dr. William. Okay, it's your turn. Untuk moderatornya Bapak Arif Hussein Maulani, Widya Suara Biologi dari P4TK IPA. Waktu dipersilakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bapak Ibu, perkenalkan, nama saya Arif Hussein Maulani. Saya Widya Suara Biologi dari P4TK IPA. Pada kesempatan ini saya akan memoderatori presenter ketiga di sesi pertama ini. Perkenankan saya untuk membacakan kurikulum vitae-nya. Nama beliau ini William Thornburg. William Thornburg. Beliau mewakili dari tempat kerjanya, yaitu American Modeling Teacher Association. Kemudian alamat kantornya tersebut di G14 Crum Street, Simpsonville, Kentucky. Emailnya amtaexec@modelinginstruction.org. Pendidikannya, beliau pernah tingkat sarjananya kimia, latar belakang pendidikan sarjana kimia di Butler University, kemudian master degree-nya Science Education di Montana State University, kemudian mengambil PhD-nya atau doktornya di bidang Science Education juga, University of Louisville. Kemudian pengalaman akademik atau mengajarnya, pernah mengajar selama 10 tahun, mengajar kimia, biologi, environmental science. Kemudian mengajar di kampus selama 5 tahun, mengajar teknologi application for science teachers, middle and secondary science methods, and then foundation of instruction dan elementary science method. Pada kesempatan ini beliau akan menyajikan makalah berjudul Transforming STEM Education Through Modeling Instruction. Oke, Bapak Ibu, sekarang kita simak saja ya apa yang ingin beliau sampaikan. Mr. Bill, the time is yours.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Okay, I do think that I'm going to attempt to talk at a regular pace and have although do some translation. So I do want to start by saying I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure. This is my first time on this side of the world. So I also want to start off by saying that currently I'm the executive officer of this organization, but I was a teacher. I taught high school chemistry for 10 years, and I was a convert from traditional instruction to modeling instruction.
Jadi awalnya mengajar secara tradisional, guru tradisional yang mengajar di depan, sekarang dia mengajar dengan instruksi pemodelan. Ini yang akan dibahas di presentasi ini.
So I completely understand all of the obstacles that you face in your own classrooms.
Jadi mengertilah kesulitan yang Bapak Ibu hadapi di kelas.
And it's very serendipitous that I'm following a presentation, actually both presentations, that touched on similar things that I would also like to talk about.
Dan kebetulan sekali tadi dua presentasi sebelumnya juga ada yang mau saya bicarakan.
So as you just heard, I am from Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, which nobody ever knows where that is. So this is where I'm from. The American Modeling Teachers Association is a virtual professional development association. We have teachers in 48 of 50 states within the USA, and we have STEM teachers in 49 countries.
Jadi asosiasi guru pemodelan Amerika ini terletak di Kentucky dan di Arizona ini, dan guru-gurunya tersebar di 48 negara bagian di Amerika dan hampir semuanya.
So has anybody in the room heard of modeling instruction? Just by a show of hands.
Ada yang udah pernah mendengar pemodelan, instruksi pemodelan? Angkat tangan.
Excellent. So I'm glad that some people have. If you have, you likely heard that modeling instruction came out of Arizona.
Jadi mungkin Bapak Ibu sudah dengar kalau instruksi pemodelan ini datang dari Arizona.
So over the last 30 years, it has spread from Arizona to 49 countries in 48 states within the USA.
Jadi sudah menyebar dari Arizona ke seluruh bagian di Amerika.
So the first thing I want to touch on is what is modeling instruction? That way I can give you a brief history of modeling and of AMTA.
Mungkin sekarang sedikit sejarah dulu tentang apa itu instruksi pemodelan.
So this is a phrase that not very many people use, especially in the US. It's a way of teaching.
Jadi ini kata-kata yang mungkin Bapak Ibu sudah kenal, ini semua tentang pedagoginya.
Okay, but we're going to do a brief history of the organization. That was something I was asked to do. And we're just going to highlight some key components. So, modeling instruction. In the US, we would say professional development can be called a flavor of the day. It's something that it's new, we try it, and then it typically fades away.
Jadi yang diistilahkan professional development itu biasanya hanya musiman lah.
But modeling instruction has kind of withstood the test of time. It's been around for 30 years.
Tapi instruksi pemodelan ini sudah dari 1980 dan tetap jaya sampai sekarang.
This pedagogy began in high school physics classrooms.
Ini dimulai di kelas SMA, fisika SMA.
And it was initially seen as a very non-traditional way of teaching physics to these students.
Dan ketika itu dipandang sebagai cara yang tidak tradisional untuk mengajarkan fisika.
Okay. NSF funding, the National Science Foundation, through a multi-million-dollar grant, started off, and multi-week summer workshops began. The initial ones were 4 weeks long, which is a lot of time and commitment on the part of the teachers to participate.
Ini diawali dari pembiayaan dari NSF dan ada 4 minggu training di 1990 ini untuk mulai pemajaran instruksi pemodelan ini.
As programs come out of research and into classrooms, what typically happens is once funding is over, they fade away.
Jadi yang biasa terjadi mungkin di sini juga, begitu pembiayaannya habis, ya udah nggak dilakukan lagi gitu.
So the effect of modeling instruction was so profound on those initial teachers that when funding ended in 2005, a small group of them got together and decided that it couldn't fade away. It was too good.
Tapi untuk instruksi pemodelan ini, waktu fundingnya berakhir di 2005, beberapa dari mereka memutuskan ini nggak boleh habis begini aja, jadi mereka membentuk ini, asosiasi ini.
So this was the birth of the organization I currently work for, AMTA. 25 teachers, they put together a small amount of money, they filled out some forms, and they started a nonprofit organization. They couldn't let it go. This was in the summer of 2005, and it was so good for their teaching, and it was so good for their students and the learning that they saw in classrooms. They couldn't let it die.
Ini dimulai dari 25 guru yang dari funding itu, mereka menganggap ini sangat berguna sekali untuk kelasnya dan untuk murid-muridnya, jadi yaitu mereka tidak mau membiarkan ini mati begitu aja.
Okay, so I just want to highlight the growth of modeling instruction over this time. So in the past 30 years, we have developed a number of discipline-specific workshops. It started in physics, and this summer we're piloting a new astronomy workshop. So are there any teachers out there that are interested in astronomy, that teach astronomy?
Ada yang ngajar astronomi di sini? Guru-guru yang ngajar astronomi, fisika, astronomi? Angkat tangan? Angkat tangan nggak ada.
So we already have teachers from Nepal, from Australia, and we would love to have some Indonesian teachers come over.
Ada dari Nepal, dari Australia. Sekarang ya kalau ada yang mau tertarik ikut, boleh.
There is money involved to help with travel.
Walaupun memang ada keuangan.
So our professional development opportunities, they've grown. If you look at our number of workshops, one workshop in 1990, and we've had 56 scheduled for this summer. And if you look at it, the average over the last 5 or 6 years there is between 60 and 70 workshops. That's a lot of teachers that are getting trained in this form of instruction.
Jadi dari 1990 cuma ada satu workshop, sekarang sudah sekitar 66 lah tiap tahun secara rata-rata.
We heard Professor Shaw a moment ago talk about the role of the teacher, the role of the learner, and some of the pitfalls that we as teachers fall into.
Jadi ya kita sudah mendengar Profesor Shaw menjelaskan tentang peran guru dan peran murid dan yang kenapa bisa kita sampai stuck di situ.
We oftentimes teach exactly how we learn, and we often get stuck in what we do, and we don't really think about branching out and trying new things. Most of the time, we think that we're successful in what we do. Unfortunately, we rarely ask the students if we're really doing that great a job.
Ya, kita mengajar seperti cara kita diajar dulu dan kita tidak pernah bertanya ke murid-murid apakah mereka suka dengan cara itu.
So this is why it's important for us as teachers to continue to be learners ourselves.
Jadi ini penting, mengapa penting kami guru-guru ini untuk terus belajar.
If we become stagnant in our own practices and we continue to do things the same way, that's not using best practices in education.
Kalau misalnya kita hanya mengajar begitu-begitu saja dan berbuat begitu-begitu saja, ya itu tidak akan menghasilkan hasil yang baik.
So I think the first step is you're here, you're communicating with each other, you're talking to peers and colleagues, you're hearing from professors. Professional development is vital to your own growth as an educator, no matter how old you are.
Ya, sebagai langkah awal Bapak Ibu sudah hadir sini dan kita bisa berdiskusi tentang ini.
I'm going to leave that up for just a moment, and I'm going to see if we need a translation on this. This is Dr. David Hesnes from Arizona State University. He is what we consider the founder of modeling instruction. I actually have had the pleasure of having a drink with him and dinner, and I would say he's one of the smartest people that I've ever met. He has degrees in science, he has degrees in philosophy, he's read every book on earth. But it's all about how we connect the physical world.
Mungkin akan coba saya terjemahkan sedikit. Ilmuwan menjelajahi dunia fisik, mencari pola-pola yang dapat direproduksi, yang lalu mereka representasikan dengan model-model yang akan menjadi dasar-dasar teori yang akan juga berdasarkan hukum-hukum sains yang sudah ada.
Yeah, and I'm not going to bore you with the details of this, but if you're a researcher, one of the really important things is that you can put your thinking into a picture or a diagram.
Mungkin nggak akan saya jelaskan tentang ini, tapi yang mungkin penting untuk Bapak Ibu ketahui kalau misalnya Bapak sebagai researcher itu riset, yang penting adalah menggambarkan apa yang Bapak Ibu pikirkan.
This is based on research. It's based on cognitive learning, right? How people learn. It's based on the theory of what people know. So Dr. Hestinus used students' misconceptions, which no matter where you are in the world, students have misconceptions.
Jadi ini yang didasarkan riset Dr. Hestinus tadi, yang ya berdasarkan riset bertahun-tahun.
And then this is the diagram I think that's most interesting to us as classroom teachers.
Dan ini diagram yang menurut saya paling menarik untuk kita guru-guru.
This shows the connection between three worlds.
Ini menunjukkan hubungan dari 3 dunia.
This is what students think, the mental world, right? It's very subjective. This is where the misconceptions lie.
Ini di mental world ini, dunia mental ini yang apa yang murid-murid pikirkan, apa yang miskonsepsi biasa berasal dari situ.
If you look at the top right, that's the conceptual world. That's what's actually true. That's what's happening. But oftentimes, people don't realize that they don't know it.
Untuk dunia ketiga yang di kanan atas ada dunia konseptual. Ini apa yang telah terjadi yang sering orang-orang tidak tahu.
And then in the physical world, that's what we see. It's what we know.
Dan di dunia fisik yang di bagian bawah adalah apa yang kita tahu, apa yang kita lihat.
And so what we try to do, very specific, very explicitly in modeling instruction, is to correct their student misconceptions and to get them to have a stronger conceptual understanding of science.
Jadi apa yang kita coba lakukan di instruksi pemodelan ini adalah bagaimana membenarkan miskonsepsi siswa ini dan cara membuat mereka bisa memikirkan tentang konsep konseptual itu.
And as Professor Shaw just mentioned with the chemistry professor he was talking to, you have two options. We can teach 1 mile wide and an inch deep, or 1 inch wide and a mile deep.
Jadi yang seperti tadi diceritakan Profesor Shaw tentang guru kimia itu, ada 2 pilihan. Kita bisa mengejarkan 1 kilo panjangnya tapi nggak dalam sama sekali, atau cuman seberapa inci tapi dalamnya sangat dalam.
And so as teachers, we typically want to just get them to the finish line. We want to pack as much information as we can inside their heads.
Sebagai guru-guru ya kita pengennya biasanya pengen mengajarkan sebanyak mungkin supaya mereka bisa selesai begitu saja.
But that approach ignores that not every student can learn at the same rate.
Tapi pendekatan itu ya tidak memikirkan kalau tidak semua siswa belajar dengan kecepatan yang sama.
So we have to adjust our teaching to match how students are learning. And again, as a classroom teacher, I understand there are obstacles. There's testing, administrators, they want you to be at a certain place. But if we could just slow down and help students grasp conceptually what is happening, they will become better, as Dr. Shaw even mentioned, better problem solvers. They'll be able to think more critically. So even when they encounter something that they haven't studied yet, they'll be able to get through it by the skills that you help them develop.
Jadi seperti saya bilang tadi, saya mengerti kesulitan di kelas-kelas, ada tes yang harus dilalui dan segala macam. Tapi kalau kita mengajarkannya dengan baik, nanti murid-murid bisa punya kemampuan untuk belajar sendiri hal-hal yang tidak dia ketahui.
So modeling instruction is based on these 3 ideas. Okay, that models are at the core of the content.
Jadi inti dari instruksi pemodelan adalah tiga hal ini, scientific model, model science, dan pemodelan sebagai inti dari prosedural dan mengajak siswa melalui semua tahap-tahap pemodelan itu.
As teachers, modeling behavior, modeling what's happening scientifically, it's at the center of modeling instruction, as well as taking students through this modeling cycle. Now, has anybody ever heard of the modeling cycle?
Ada yang pernah mendengar siklus pemodelan?
Great, I have a diagram.
Ini seperti ini.
So if you look in the center, the modeling cycle is very closely attached to the learning cycle.
Dapat dilihat sangat berdekatan dengan siklus pembelajaran.
And there are two phases. Now, each time we start a new unit, we go through each of these phases with students. That we develop a model, that we test it, and if it fails, we revise it and we start again. So students are constantly working to build a better model.
Jadi modeling cycle ini intinya ada dua, yaitu pengembangan di mana kita membuat model dan mengetesnya, dan pengaplikasian, dan bila di aplikasi itu ada masalah, terlihat ada perlu direvisi, diulang lagi ke pengembangan itu.
So Professor Shaw also mentioned traditional classrooms, right? The best way I describe a traditional classroom is that the teacher is called the sage on stage. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to tell you everything I know.
Jadi tadi sudah disebutkan tentang kelas tradisional, yang mungkin yang bisa saya tangkap tentang kelas tradisional ini adalah sage on the stage, itu antara orang bijak di panggung. Saya di sini, saya akan mengajarkan semua yang saya tahu.
In these classrooms, they're very teacher-centric. I ask questions, and you will answer me.
Ya, sangat berpusat pada guru. Guru yang bertanya, murid harus menjawab.
And the idea of this is, I can control the questions that I ask. I can direct you to the answers I want, so I can move forward to teach more material.
Jadi intinya ya saya bertanya apa yang saya mau, kamu harus menjawab seperti yang saya mau, dan ya kita melalui semua kurikulum seperti itu.
And so this is a problem because students often don't see the connection between the previous unit that they've studied and what they're studying now. So education is very fragmented.
Jadi ini bermasalah karena nanti murid-murid tidak melihat hubungan antara pelajaran sebelumnya dan pelajaran yang sekarang ini. Jadi sangat terpecah-pecah.
The structure of these courses is based on how we learn them ourselves as students. We know the material, we know where we want them to be, and so we organize them in that way.
Jadi awalnya ya kita mengajarkan seperti cara kita diajari, kita tahu apa yang mau diajarkan, ya itu harus diajarin.
And again, this is problematic because not only do they not see the connection between units of study, but they don't really even always see the connections between the activities you do. For instance, we had the young group of kids up here doing science experiments earlier. They can do the experiments and they had fun with it, but could they really conceptually tell us what they were doing and why it was happening?
Ini menjadi masalah bukan karena tadi seperti disebut koneksi dengan pelajaran sebelumnya, tapi bahkan koneksi tentang apa yang mereka lakukan dengan inti dari pelajaran itu, kurikulum itu. Seperti tadi contohnya ada murid-murid mencontohkan demonstrasi sains itu, tapi apa mereka bisa menjelaskan apa maksudnya itu?
And so, although I had a fantastic time watching them, I wonder is how much of it is rehearsal versus how much of it is true knowledge.
Jadi walaupun saya senang melihat anak-anak tadi, saya berpikir apakah mereka benar-benar ngerti, apa cuman ya udah diajarin aja harus begitu.
So, in a traditional classroom, this is what happens, and based on what I just heard, maybe your current system of education is very directed. You need to get to a certain place. And so you probably are more teacher-centered than in an ideal world we would want you to be.
Jadi dari yang saya dengar tadi yang dijelaskan oleh Profesor Shaw, mungkin ya di Indonesia ini masih sangat berpusat pada guru.
So the difference. We've talked about traditional. What does a modeling instruction classroom look like? Okay, this is where the teacher steps to the side and they facilitate. They become the guide on the side.
Jadi apa bedanya dengan instruksi kelas pemodelan? Di sini guru akan ke samping dan menjadi pemandu untuk para murid.
Let's see, there we go. Okay, and luckily he mentioned to you earlier a constructivist approach. Modeling is definitely constructivism, and some would even say it's social constructivism, because students are constantly working together to build knowledge.
Jadi pemodelan ini tentu saja adalah sebuah pendekatan konstruktivis.
Again, we're immersed in models, and what's key is, especially with a new set of science standards that are becoming very popular in the USA, they're called the Next Generation Science Standards, NGSS. They want students doing. They want them being hands-on and active. They want them doing science and acting like scientists, which doesn't always happen in science learning.
Jadi di Amerika sekarang ada suatu standar baru yang terkenal, yang intinya adalah ingin para murid itu melakukan sains dan bertingkah sebagai ilmuwan, yang mungkin tidak selalu dilakukan di kelas tradisional.
So I'm going to throw up all of these bullet points here, and I want to highlight a few words. The first is you're going to hear whiteboarding, and you're going to see collaboration on a lot of the upcoming slides. Whiteboarding and collaboration.
Ini antara yang akan saya jelaskan lebih lanjut adalah tentang whiteboarding dan kolaborasi antara para murid.
When I was asked to come and do this presentation, I saw that there was a focus on 21st century skills. So one thing that your students will build in addition to science knowledge, content knowledge, are what we call soft skills. Or recently we're calling them essential skills. The ability to communicate, the ability to share ideas, to argue from evidence, and your students will be in front of the classroom and they'll be working on these skills.
Yang begitu saya diminta untuk berbicara di seminar ini, ada yang disebut tentang keterampilan abad 21, yang tentu saja salah satunya adalah tentang soft skill, dan ini mencakup itu.
So we're going to talk about 4 key features of modeling instruction classrooms. Okay, we're going to start with classroom culture. This is important from the first moment students walk into your classroom.
Kita akan membahas tentang inti-inti dari kelas pemodelan ini. Satunya adalah lingkungan kelas.
They need to feel safe, encouraged, positive, free to speak. We want students actively engaged in their learning all the time.
Jadi yang penting, yang pertama adalah tentu saja lingkungan harus membuat murid-murid itu merasa positif, merasa aman, merasa bahwa mereka bisa bicara apa yang mereka pikirkan tanpa takut diejek-ejek.
And what's really, really important is, I think no matter where we are in the world, students are scared to give the wrong answer.
Dan yang seperti biasa dimanapun itu pasti murid-murid takut memberikan jawaban yang takut salah.
When I think of the word fail, it's negative. But if you can get kids to realize that fail means first attempt in learning, they will be more willing to share with you and with their classmates.
Kalau misalnya kata salah tadi, kata gagal itu kayaknya kesannya negatif. Tapi kalau Bapak Ibu bisa mengajarkan murid-murid kalau salah itu cuman tahap pertama pembelajaran, mereka akan lebih mau berbagi apa yang mereka pikirkan.
And so when we look at this diagram, we see that, you know, you can have a culture that's collaborative, that's creative, it's controlling, it's competitive. And what we really want is we want to try to get up into that unified, flexible, you know, class where students come in, they look forward to your course, they're engaged, they're doing and acting like scientists do, and this is where you know that you've created a culture that's optimal for learning.
Jadi yang kita targetkan ini yang kolaborasi. Jadi kita ingin murid-murid itu tak sabar untuk dalam pelajaran gitu, untuk mereka bisa aktif belajar.
Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about whiteboarding, and if you've heard of modeling and if you happen to be in Japan, you may have some experience with whiteboards, but currently, how many of you use whiteboards in your classrooms with students?
Berapa banyak yang Bapak Ibu yang menggunakan whiteboard di rumah di kelas dengan murid-murid?
Okay, so a few. This is good. This is one of the cheapest and best tools that you can use in education.
Ini salah satu alat yang paling murah dan paling efektif dari yang bisa Bapak Ibu gunakan.
And they can be used in any discipline, right? But especially in science, it's a place for students to be collaborative, to work in small groups. There's a lot of different strategies that you can use, but what's really cool about it is that students don't just write one answer.
Jadi ini bisa digunakan untuk berbagai macam pelajaran, tapi terutama untuk di science. Jadi murid-murid bisa berkolaborasi, berdiskusi, dan menggunakan ini sebagai presentasi. Tapi yang lebih menarik adalah murid-murid tidak hanya menuliskan satu jawaban.
Whiteboarding can be used to first identify student misconceptions. They can be used to formatively assess what students are thinking. And we ask them to use the whiteboards and express their knowledge through multiple representations. So that would be pictures, graphs, mathematical modeling, it could be narrative, but students are expressing what they know in multiple forms, which as a teacher, we want to see, because then we will have a better gauge of whether they understand.
Jadi whiteboard ini bisa digunakan untuk mengidentifikasi miskonsepsi siswa, tapi juga kita bisa meminta mereka untuk merepresentasikan apa yang mereka ketahui ke dalam whiteboard ini dalam berbagai cara, misalnya dengan gambar, grafik, atau matematis. Jadi kita bisa menilai apakah mereka sudah benar-benar mengerti apa yang kita ajarkan.
Questioning. How many of you think by a show of hands that you're really good at asking questions?
Ayo Bapak Ibu angkat tangan, kira-kira yang Bapak Ibu anggap bahwa Bapak Ibu itu ahli bertanya. Ayo jangan malu-malu.
Oh, okay, yeah, so let's talk about questioning. All right, we don't want to ask closed-ended questions. So if I look at a student and I say, what's 2 plus 2? Okay, that's a closed-ended question. There's just one answer. We want to ask more open-ended questions. We want to ask questions that may have multiple answers.
Jadi kita tidak hanya mau bertanya pertanyaan tertutup seperti tadi 2 tambah 2 itu berapa, tapi kita ingin pertanyaan terbuka yang banyak jawabannya.
So, I don't want to hit on all of these, but there's so much great research on different questioning strategies.
Ya, mungkin tidak usah dijelaskan semuanya di sini, tapi ada banyak riset tentang cara bertanya yang baik.
A key feature is that when a student asks me a question, I don't give them the answer. I ask them a question back.
Jadi salah satu yang saya lakukan ketika murid bertanya kepada saya tidak memberikan jawabannya, tapi saya malah bertanya kembali kepada mereka.
They hate it.
Mereka nggak suka itu.
Because they see it as I'm asking you the question, you know everything, just tell me the answer.
Karena murid melihatnya kan saya tanya ke bapak, bapak kan tahu semuanya, kasih tahu aja jawabannya.
Yeah. If you can break yourself of this habit, your classroom will immediately change. Ask them questions back.
Kalau bapak ibu bisa keluar dari kebiasaan ini, kelas bapak ibu pasti akan berubah. Tanya lagi mereka pertanyaan.
Okay, when we ask questions, you know what the average wait time is?
Kalau waktu bertanya, bapak ibu tahu waktu rata-rata menunggunya.
What are they?
Kalau bertanya tunggu sampai murid menjawab itu berapa menit?
Shout it out. What's an average wait time after a question?
5 minutes? 5 seconds? 2 minutes?
Okay. You can take this back to your classroom and you can test yourself. Average wait time for teachers is less than 1 second.
Rata-rata guru biasanya hanya memberi waktu itu kurang dari sedetik untuk murid berjawab.
Because immediately upon finishing my question, there's that kid in the back with the hand up. And we call on him because remember, we have things to do. We have to teach new things. So we don't like to wait.
Jadi begitu bertanya pasti ada nanti ada murid di ujung yang angkat tangan dan ya udah jawab aja kalau biar karena waktunya singkat gitu, kita butuh biar cepat.
If you employ wait time to a point that it almost makes them uncomfortable, somebody will eventually answer. It will be more thoughtful, and it's not going to be the kid that always has their hand up, but it's going to be the quiet student that maybe doesn't talk it very often.
Tapi kalau Bapak Ibu coba menunggu sebentar untuk jawaban itu, nanti lama-lama mungkin ada murid yang bukan murid yang itu saja yang menjawab, tapi yang biasanya diam, mungkin dia akan mulai menjawab.
I'm getting the hook. He's pulling me off soon. But if you are not familiar with Bloom's taxonomy, this is a very good thing to know, because what we want to do is we don't want to ask questions at the bottom. We want to get students thinking higher up the ladder. We want to encourage them to think more deeply.
Ya, mungkin Bapak Ibu pasti udah kenal ya dengan taksonomi Bloom. Kita tidak ingin bertanya yang hanya yang bagian bawah, tapi kita ingin bertanya di ya bagian-bagian atas yang higher order thinking skill ini.
Okay, and the final thing that I'm going to end with, and I would love to continue to talk about this, but it's being student-centered. Okay, and in a modeling classroom, it hits all of these. Okay, and what it does is it takes the attention off of us as teachers, and it's all student centric. Students are there, they're leading the discussions, they're leading the learning, and we shouldn't be in such a hurry. We should not be moving on until students are stronger foundationally with the science that you're actually teaching.
Jadi di pemodelan ini intinya adalah di murid. Kita ingin murid-murid yang memimpin pembelajaran, memimpin diskusinya. Jadi kita ingin tidak terlalu terburu-buru sampai murid benar-benar paham apa yang diajarkan.
And I'll end with this slide. 21st century skills, focusing on the right-hand side: communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. Modeling instruction classrooms have all of this. All of it. And it's really a fantastic way of teaching. Our slogan is transforming STEM education. And I can speak to you as a teacher. It took me 7 years to find it. And once I did, I realized that everything I had been doing before was not as good as I thought.
Jadi yang ingin saya fokuskan adalah di 4C ini, dan di 4C ini instruksi pemodelan, kelas instruksi pemodelan mencakup semuanya ini. Dan saya butuh 7 tahun untuk belajar ini, dan di mana saya sadar bahwa ya semua yang saya lakukan sebelumnya ternyata tidak begitu bagus.
And so, just to wrap this up, if I had about 15 more minutes, we could dig into how modeling touches each of the 4 C's of the 21st century skills, and I would be happy to talk to you about that at any point. But if you just think about some of those key features of a modeling classroom, that they build those soft skills, that questioning is so important, that students are constantly collaborating through whiteboarding, you can see naturally whiteboarding itself accomplishes each of those. So it's a very useful pedagogy. 90% of teachers that take workshops are still using it 10 years later. It's withstood the test of time, and it truly would transform what you do with your own students. Thank you. I think I'm done.
Baik Bapak Ibu, saya tadinya tidak tega untuk menghentikan presentasi dari Mr. William Thornburg karena beliau kan jauh-jauh dari Kentucky Bapak Ibu ya. Dan kesempatan ini kesempatan yang sangat langka. Baik untuk mempertajam topik yang sedang kita bahas, meskipun tadi mengulas ada STEM di bagian judulnya, tapi kita fokus ke bagian modeling instruction. Silakan Bapak Ibu, ada 2 orang penanya. 1, Bapak, silakan berdiri mendekati speaker atau speakernya mendekati mikrofon, mendekati Bapak. 1 orang lagi boleh? Siapa? Ada? 1 di belakang Ibu ya tadi. Duluan Ibu. Silakan Pak. Diperkenalkan dulu namanya, asalnya.
Oh, nama, oke. Imam Wicaksono dari SMP Negeri 3 Panggang Gunung Kidul. Yeah. What I want to ask you is your statement that modeling instruction is have any connection with STEM education. What I think about modeling instruction is inquiry based, but you say that any comparison in modeling instruction in STEM. So I want to ask you what AMTA say about STEM education.
Oke, cukup itu. Iya. Baik, terima kasih. Satu lagi, langsung kepada Ibu yang tadi sudah mengacungkan tangan. Ibu boleh mendekati mikrofon.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Thornburg. My name is Farah. I'm science teacher in middle school. Yeah, I've tried to implement STEM in my science classroom, and then I thought my students love STEM approach so much, and so do I. But oftentimes, you're right, they really enjoy their engineering and forget the science concept. And then I try to search about learning cycles of 5 E's, and that's great. So thank you for your research. But I have a problem with this when my students face the failed experiment in STEM. I mean, the topic is gas pressure. They engineer hot air balloon. Then every group, every students were failed to fly the balloon. And then I just, it's hard for me because they look so sad, and how to motivate them. I just say that, hey, we are learning here. You make mistake, it's okay. But it's like they said, and how to motivate them, and how I supposed to do in the next lessons if I face that case again. Thank you.
Oke, terima kasih Ibu Vera. Maybe we can start with the first question from Ms. Vita.
So, STEM education. I just recently read an article about STEM, And one of the difficulties that has occurred is we have programs and we have research and we try things, but nothing really seems to be like helping students to get to a higher level of understanding science content. And so STEM really is something that began kind of at the upper level. And it just was, I think, an all-encompassing term: science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And but what we have failed to see is like how then that filters down. And is STEM those four things individually, or is my classroom, whether it's chemistry or biology, should it include each of those four letters? And so one of the things that was actually going to come up in my presentation is you are the critical component, right? It doesn't matter what standards there are. It doesn't matter what your government or your administration, your school district, it doesn't matter what they want. It matters what you do. And so it's very difficult to have a classroom where you're bringing in, right, the science content, but using technology, incorporating engineering activities, and then also working on the mathematics. We tend to lose focus. And so, you know, AMTA, as well as I think most organizations, actually kind of recognize the fact that STEM education could be much better than what it is. It's lacking in many areas. We just heard about the 5 E's, which was actually really cool because on the way in here I saw a poster of the 5 E's and I was like so happy that it's made it over here. The 5 E's are a great way to, you know, engage and explore and all these things, but teachers still struggle using the 5 E's. That is a whole different ballgame. I mean, there's so many difficulties there because there's a timing issue, the resources that you may use with your students, how much time you spend, right? Because we're always in such a hurry to get to the finish line, we maybe don't give each of the 5 E's enough time. And so I hope that kind of answered your question about STEM. It needs help, it needs work. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to incorporate technology and engineering. We should be collaborating with peers. We should be attending conferences. We should be using digital technologies to research and find what's being done elsewhere to help us improve what we do. And then as far as, you know, students failing, I've been there. You know, do you guys do the egg drop experiment over here? You climb up a bunch of floors, you drop an egg, and hopefully it doesn't break. I've done it before and everybody failed. I just try to explain to them, science isn't always successful. We fail more than we succeed. And we learn more from our failures than we do from our successes. But maybe the next time around you do that experiment, did you do it yourself in advance and were you successful? So, right, this is the thing. If you have an activity that you want students to do, you better have done it yourself first. Because if you didn't, how can you help them to fix problems? How can you help them to be successful? You should film yourself doing it in advance, hopefully failing first, because then you could show your students that you weren't successful, but then having a video of you actually being successful at it. So in the case of a classroom where nobody, you know, it didn't work out for anybody, you can just play the video of you doing it and being successful and explain maybe things you did differently, but what's really powerful for them is that they see that you failed as well. Right? We don't know everything, and we're not always right with the things we think we know. So it's okay for students to see that maybe it took us a couple of times to experience success ourselves. Did that help? The 5 E's, though, are very tricky. I just want to say something about those. I just worked with a group of, we call them pre-service teachers in the States. And I had them writing lesson plans or a science experiment, and I asked them to use the 5 E's. They were not good. They were not good. Now, they're obviously less experienced because they're not in the classroom yet, but even for experienced teachers, we have to think about, for the engagement. Let me ask, how many of you use the 5 E's when you're planning a lesson for your students? Show of hands.
Berapa banyak Bapak Ibu yang menggunakan 5E itu dalam mengajar? Angkat tangan. Ayo jangan malu-malu.
Okay, so not very many. I would encourage all of you to spend some time and actually try to write a lesson plan using it.
Ingin mengharapkan Bapak Ibu mencoba menggunakan 5E itu dalam lesson plan Bapak Ibu.
In addition to that question, though, and I just want to kind of connect this with something I talked about. If you establish the right type of classroom culture from the moment they start on day 1, failure will not affect them so negatively. That's why classroom culture is really, really important. And then you work together to fix the problems, to build knowledge. Maybe you get them together, and instead of it being a group project, bring them all back together, discuss the failures, and then have them come up with ideas to make it better, and let them do it again and see if they succeed the next time. That's part of that modeling cycle.
Oke, mudah-mudahan itu sudah menjawab Ibu Vera dan Bapak Wijaksono. Sudah cukup? Oke, terima kasih. Belum Pak Wijaksono, ada yang masih ingin ditanyakan lagi? Nanti barangkali sesudah sesi ininya Bapak bisa japri lewat dengan beliau ya. Baik Bapak Ibu, cukup 2 pertanyaan saja. Untuk Bapak Ibu yang barangkali ada pertanyaan, Bapak Ibu kontak saya saja karena saya punya email dari Mr. William di sini ya. Untuk sementara sesi ini akan kita akhiri. Kalau boleh saya mengungkapkan beberapa kesimpulan. Jadi pertama kali beliau itu menjelaskan tentang asosiasi yang beliau bergelut di sana begitu ya. Beliau itu fokus di asosiasi yang bernama AMPA. Intinya adalah bagaimana mensosialisasikan tentang modeling instruction. Jadi fokus selama bertahun-tahun memperkenalkan modeling instruction. Dan setelah kita melihat paparannya, modeling instruction itu ternyata untuk sebagian besar kita isinya bukan hal yang baru ya. Di sana ada student center ya, kemudian menggunakan ya paradigma teori belajar konstruktivisme, kemudian hal-hal yang baru di sini mungkin perlu kita ikut pelatihannya, seperti bagaimana cara menggunakan whiteboarding. Saya kira tadi kan cuma sebulan saja. Pasti di situ ada teknik-teknik yang tidak beliau sampaikan di sini tentang whiteboarding, tentang collaboration yang beliau maksudkan itu seperti apa, dan kemudian penggunaan teknik bertanya, questioning skill, seperti apa diterapkan di dalam modeling instruction. Well, Mr. William, actually we are eager to hear more about modeling instruction, but the time is already finished. We hope we can invite you someday, one day in the future. I hope you're willing to come here again. Terima kasih Bapak Ibu, tepuk tangan untuk Mr. William dan untuk kita semua. Terima kasih, acara saya kembalikan kepada Ibu Atik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Bapak Arif Hussein Maulani, and thank you very much Dr. William. And could you please stand still here because we would like to give you a token of appreciation. And Mr. Greg, where is Mr. Greg? Over here please. And then I would like to invite Ibu Kabag Umo. Oh, Ibu ada Bu Neng, Ibu Kepala Bidang Program dan Informasi. Lihat Ibu, to present the token of appreciation to Dr. William. Thank you Ibu Neng, thank you Dr. Ian, hope to see you soon. Yang berikutnya Bapak Dr. Sumarmo mohon maju ke depan. Dan Ibu Kabag Umum Ibu Dewi Anggreni dipersilahkan untuk memberikan kenang-kenangan dari P4TK IPA. Terima kasih Dr. Sumarmo mewakili Direktur Pustekom. Terima kasih Ibu Dewi Anggreni. Untuk sesi plenary session, this first plenary session is over. So hadirin, ladies and gentlemen, untuk berikutnya kan plenary session kedua akan dilanjutkan setelah, karena kita akan stick dengan waktu. Mohon maaf bila kami memberi waktu hanya 30 menit saja untuk istirahat sholat barangkali atau